lot of nuts!
Hey, what's going on, hyenas, and welcome back to Watch Mojo. Today, we're going to be covering the top 10 ways in which AI is ruining your financial future, and why you should be a little bit more pissed off about it if you aren't already. Hobbyist PC building, PC gaming, computer parts in general have had a bit of a rough streak in terms of affordability over the course of the last 5-10 years maybe. At first, graphics cards and other PC components were just getting ever so slightly more expensive with the advancement of their technology and what have you. But then with the introduction of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin specifically rising in prices so much, the popularity of people making at-home Bitcoin and cryptocurrency mining PCs started to skyrocket the prices of GPUs specifically, the component of a computer that was already probably the most expensive part of the computer that you'd be putting together, and also the most impactful part for gaming and 3D rendering specifically. Pair that with the fact that COVID basically neutered the ability for a lot of manufacturing plants to be able to output enough components to meet the supply of which people wanted to be able to build computers. And now we're at the point where a graphics card that used to be like $600-700 at the top end now costs as much as an entire computer would have 5-10 years ago. Surely that's going to be the end of it, right? No. Tsunamis and tariffs and what have you have raised the prices of storage and CPU components. Anything with silicon, power supplies even started to rise in prices because of these manufacturing issues. And now we're in a situation where AI has become such a profitable bubble that companies are literally exiting the computer markets, the consumer markets left and right in order to focus entirely on producing computer hardware for AI, leaving consumers with no options other than to pay $700 fucking dollars for a stick of DDR5 memory. How in God's name do we get here? I guess I kind of just explained how. This is frankly blowing my mind, right? This is 64 gigabytes, two 32 gig sticks of DDR5 6000 megahertz memory. This is the cheapest RAM I can find that's DDR5 available at Micro Center, the one near my place, the one I used to work at for 6 years. $550 for 64 gigs of RAM. And this is the cheapest, no-nonsense RAM I could find. If you sort it by the most expensive, this is DDR5 Dominator memory with nice fancy heat sinks and RGB lighting. Its performance isn't any different, but if you want the nice glowing rainbow stuff, they used to just be like an extra $40-50 if you wanted it in your system to have a nice all-white build with rainbows and shit in it. Well, you better fucking sell your card, dumb fuck, because you're looking at $1,000 for 64 gigs of RAM. To put this into perspective, here's the email receipt I got from Micro Center for an upgrade I did to my computer, my personal PC in 2022 when it started acting up and I felt like I needed an upgrade. AMD was running a promotion where if you bought their new, at the time, Ryzen 9 7950X, Micro Center would give you like $100 discount on their motherboard, which I needed anyway because I was getting a new CPU, and they would give you 32 gigabytes of that same DDR5 memory for a penny. They gave me 32 gigabytes of RAM for free for buying a new PC CPU, and I ended up buying a motherboard as well. They were giving away RAM if you were upgrading your PC just 3 years ago. And now, if you walk into a Micro Center and ask if you can have some free RAM for spending $700 on a CPU upgrade, they will beat you to death with a graphics card. Sumito, why is RAM so expensive? Please explain to me, a lowly hyena that has only ever colloquially thought about building a computer, but I don't have hands to build them myself. Relax. That's what we're here for. And it's not out of nowhere. It isn't like AI is buying RAM to make a bunch of PC computers and what have you. They're not directly competing with you. What it is that AI machines use their own version of RAM. It's like high bandwidth RAM. It's along the lines of like ECC or server grade. It's a completely different thing that they use compared to what you put in your gaming computer. However, they require so much of it, the manufacturers that make RAM have to dedicate their plants to making that specific type of RAM. And recently, Micron, one of the largest, like the third largest DRAM manufacturer in the world, they make like a quarter of all the memory that exists in the world at the moment, recently announced that they would be exiting the consumer market in order to solely focus on making RAM for AI, meaning they will no longer be making the sort of RAM sticks that you can buy to upgrade the memory in your old laptop or your gaming computer or anything like that, and instead are solely manufacturing, taking all their plants, all of their infrastructure, and only making RAM for AI. And that's the reason with that news that everybody is now scuttling to try to buy all the available RAM, making upgrades to the memory in their systems, as it were, because they get the feeling that, hey, RAM prices are going to go through the fucking roof because Micron, which is Crucial, by the way, Crucial is not making fucking memory anymore, and that's kind of a big deal because they sort of make like all of it. So that means it's a bad time to build a computer. Straightforward enough, I just won't build a computer, or rather, I'll just make a computer with like 8 gigabytes of RAM. Surely everything is surrounding the idea of RAM being more expensive, right? No. That's not how it works at fucking all. RAM historically has been very inexpensive. You probably shouldn't just buy 64 gigabytes of it if you're making a budget gaming PC, because most games aren't really designed to use that much memory. But most games aren't designed for them to be the most perfectly utilized of all the RAM you have in your system anyway. Anybody will tell you if you keep a couple tabs of Google Chrome open, it's not uncommon for your computer to just casually be using 24 gigs of RAM for you to stream fucking music on Spotify and watch a Netflix movie or something. RAM has always sort of been expected to be cheap, and now that it's really fucking expensive, it's probably going to take a little bit of time before game developers and software developers, website engineers, and the rest accommodate to that, and now everybody is going to have to be a little bit more conducive to the way that they engineer their software. We're gonna have to wait for games to be relatively well optimized to be able to run on systems that only have like 8 gigs of RAM, which was the norm, I don't know, 15 years ago, but is now becoming normalized again. And it's not just PC gaming. Like I said, just browsing the internet on a modern computer is going to take quite a bit of RAM because they just expect you to have at least 16 gigs. Like I said, a couple tabs of Google Chrome, even a couple fucking Microsoft Word documents with how many AI features and how many new things are introduced, and even simple softwares are expecting your computer to be a little bit beefier than they were 10, 15 years ago, and might start to struggle if suddenly everybody only has 16 gigabytes of RAM. And it's not just PCs in general either. Fucking everything uses RAM. Your smart fridge is gonna start lagging because RAM prices are going up. The Steam Cube is probably not going to be the $500 we hoped it was if fucking 16 gigs of RAM costs $300 on its own, right? Crucial was the memory manufacturer for the PS5. So even consoles are probably going to feel the brunt of this new high-priced memory. Games are going to need to accommodate for that, all because AI. Now, granted, I have a tab of Google Chrome open, and I've got Adobe Premiere open, and I'm currently recording with OBS. I am sitting at just shy of 22 gigabytes of my 32 gigabytes of RAM being utilized. 70% of my system memory is being utilized. Now, I'm a content creator. Most of you guys probably don't have 3 monitors of stuff open, but again, 32 gigabytes of RAM right now seems to be running like $200 or $300. Again, I got 32 gigabytes for fucking free just 3 years ago. That is a 10 billion% increase in RAM prices, according to the math that I didn't do. One person on Twitter tweets, "The RAM shortage might be a good thing, actually. Maybe developers will stop using inefficient tech and start to code properly since the Garbo web app won't run on consumer hardware." To take that out of nerd speak for a second, it's saying, hey, everybody is expected to have a bunch of RAM because it was cheap. Maybe now that RAM is going to be more expensive, people will make it so that their websites, their apps, their video games, and what have you will be more optimized, will be better developed in order to accommodate the fact that people's computers are shittier, and therefore we will get better optimized software. Things will run better because computer parts are more expensive. Do you hear how fucking stupid you sound. What happened when the top-end GPU in the 1080 Ti went from costing $700 to the top-end GPU in the 3090 running to cost $2,000? Did all video games become more optimized? Did the push of VR causing more people to buy GPUs and higher-end GPUs? Did the price of Bitcoin? Did AI manipulation? Did everything causing GPU prices to skyrocket to upwards of the cost of an entire computer? Do we now have an entire revolution, an entire renaissance of perfectly optimized video games? Is every video game that you've played in the last 3 years running absolutely smoothly on your Steam Deck? Do you no longer need to buy a high-end PC because they're so expensive that app developers and 3D rendering softwares have gotten so good that they'll run on a fucking potato? No, I don't think they fucking have. I think the battle royales that I was playing 5-10 years ago used to run half decently on a $700 PC desktop, and now fucking Fortnite requires a 5090 if I want to be able to play it with the highest shaders, and you goddamn know I do, because I didn't pay $35 to have nice ass cheeks on a Fortnite skin to not be able to see them in 8K. I can't find the tweet saying this idea. It's not an original idea that I came up with, but I've seen a number of people talking about the idea that the industry must be pushing towards cloud computing. The idea being that owning computer hardware, because of the prices of GPUs and now RAM and probably everything else with tariffs and production quality and what have you, a straightforward computer that's capable of doing a flight simulation or playing video games or what have you might start to cost like $3,500 fucking dollars, and that's going to be unaffordable for anybody who's doing the bare minimum of working 60 hours a fucking week to try to afford healthcare and a place to live in this country, right? So what stops it from becoming the norm that people instead build a very bare bones computer that just runs and then basically rents high performance computing power from the cloud? You can't afford to build a gaming PC? Well, just buy a computer that can plug into a monitor and show you something, and then you'll connect to the internet, and all the actual hard gaming stuff, 3D rendering, the actual computing power that is being done by a high-end GPU and CPU will be done by a big, powerful computer somewhere else. And then we'll charge you $12 a month for you to do that, and then you'll own fucking nothing, and you'll be happy for it. Isn't that a great result of having AI that nobody fucking asked for? I think so, says the stupidest person on earth. There is a chance that this is relatively overblown and there are other manufacturers that will upgrade plants or create more plants for fabricating PC memory and will just fill the gap. But like, that's gonna take time, right? Currently, RAM prices have shot through the fucking roof because one major manufacturer stated that they're straight up not going to make RAM for consumers anymore, and the other major manufacturers in Samsung and SK have basically said that they're not going to increase the amount of RAM that they make in order to accommodate for the lack of production from this other big company. And obviously, we are seeing the ramifications of that change right now. Right? We haven't gotten any games that have been better optimized. We haven't gotten any software that's been made more fine-tuned to be able to run on lower system memory. We haven't had any of that happen, but we have immediately been met with the ramifications for RAM prices. We have immediately been met with increased prices of RAM. All DDR5 memory right now is double the price that it was like a couple of weeks ago following this news. And the time that it's going to take for game developers, software developers, web apps, and what have you, in order to become more optimized is going to take time, but buying RAM right now, fucking overnight change, immediately costs more than your fucking GPU is going to. Boy, what a world that we live in. Is it possible that that space gets filled in by other companies and this ends up getting normalized? Sure, but it's going to take some time. You can't make an entire fabrication factory that develops RAM from a company that hasn't done it before overnight. Nothing says that's going to be as good quality as somebody who's been in the industry doing it for the better part of 15 years, 20 years, the way the Crucial has. This is just nothing but bad news. But hey, on the bright side, the AI overview for Google is going to be slightly better. One day, If you guys enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like. It helps a ton. And remember to subscribe if you want to get more videos like this in your inbox every single week-ish, day-ish, whatever. Remember to subscribe on Patreon if you want to see an exclusive video of me dumpster diving to pull memory out of old PCs from behind office buildings. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Spisu.